Welcome to the podcast where we dive deep into what really shapes our health, not just our habits, but our mindset. I'm April, a health and weight loss coach who is on my own journey to lose weight, rebuild confidence, and most importantly, change the way I think about myself and my goals. So each week, we will talk about the real challenges of weight loss, the ups and the downs, and the powerful roles that our thoughts and our approach play in transforming our bodies and our lives. Whether you're just getting started, feeling stuck, or ready to level up your results, this is the space for real talk and a reminder that change always comes from within. So take a deep breath, get comfortable, and let's get into it. So today we're going to talk about something that can really throw us off. What do you do when your accountability partner disappears or you never had one to begin with? So maybe your friends stop checking in, maybe you're doing great together, and then life happens. Or maybe you've always been on this journey solo and it just feels harder without somebody watching. But first of all, you're not alone. So I've had it where I didn't ever have an accountability partner. And then I had it where I had one and it kind of fizzled out. So I was on, when I joined the 3 years ago, the program and the life coaching certification program I went through, I had a really solid accountability partner. We would meet every week. We would do lessons. We would meet. We would go over what we learned. It was really a great dynamic, and I got a lot from it. And then the person decided to just stop being a part of the program and went on with her life in her own way, which is fine. That's what happens sometimes. But then I kind of was like hanging out here and I was used to a routine of something and I looked forward to that and I was finding such help and support in that. And then I had to figure out my own ways to support myself. And when I was thinking about a podcast to talk about this week, I thought about that because even if you have an accountability partner, there are moments that you are still on your own because no matter who you have in your life, you always have you. You're always with you. In those moments at like dinner, when you sit down at a restaurant and the server comes over and asks what you want, and you did all this planning before going to the restaurant, and you're like, this is what I'm going to get. I'm not going to get an appetizer. I'm really going to focus on the entree. And I'm gonna skip dessert because I really wanna go for this specific entree that I really enjoy, and I wanna just get that and focus on that. And then you get there, and you're with your friends, and the server comes over, and everybody's talking about getting an appetizer, and you are in your head thinking, "I had a plan." And you find yourself just ordering that appetizer with everybody. So these are the moments that it truly, even if you have an accountability partner to talk about that later, it's that moment when you are on your own and you really want to be able to be your own accountability partner. You want to rely on yourself. When you hear that thought, oh, mozzarella sticks, that sounds really good. I didn't plan that, but everybody else is getting something and that would be fun to participate with everybody else. This whole I'm pretty much guessing I'm not alone in this, but this whole conversation goes off in my brain. And I have to have a conversation with myself in silence because, outwardly it might sound a little funny. So I'm like, okay, April, that does sound fun. But what is fun? Fun is that I'm with my friends and we're hanging out and we're talking and we're spending time together. And I'm in a restaurant where I don't have to cook or do dishes. That's fun. So I'm going to choose to stick to my original plan that I know when I leave here, I'm going to feel best about. But that is a conversation you have to learn to have with yourself. And it's not second nature. You really have to practice that. So when we find out things we have to practice that help us move forward in our goals, this is learned self accountability. So there are ways to create this for ourselves. And I also started thinking about Thanksgiving's coming up. So there's going for many of us, there's going to be these special dinners, maybe more than one you have to go to. Everybody's story is different with that, but inevitably, somewhere along the line that day, you're going to be involved in an event, and there might be food pushers, people who mean well, but they keep offering you food even after you've said no, thank you, I'm good. You've had your plate, it was so good, I only get it once a year. Maybe just a little more is okay. All of these thoughts that kind of come into your head. So when we start to build our relationship with ourselves to become our personal accountability partner, and I'm not saying that accountability partners aren't great. They are. They are. They are. And if you have them, that's so great. And if you don't, you can create them for yourself. That's the other thing. If you don't have like a specific person, you can create a Facebook page. So many people do it. Your journey, share it there. Um, you can join programs. There's so many things. You can get a coach. There's so many ways to get an accountability person. But I really wanted to talk about how we create an accountability relationship with ourselves, because that is the person who is with you at all times, no matter the situation. So, a couple of things to focus on with this, and again, to keep in mind that it's practice. This is not going to become second nature, because even if you have a goal and you chose to skip something, we kind of will be like, it's okay, I'll do it tomorrow. Or as we all know, I'll start next Monday or whatever, right? So you could pick a couple of things to start with, but I'm just going to go over a couple of points that will be helpful to create the relationship. It's not to do it all in one time and expect overnight like this is going to work 100%. Everything that we do, that we try to learn on our journey, we start, we practice, we have what's 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of situations, and that's normal. So give yourself grace and compassion always. That's a big thing that I believe in. So, but one thing that's important is you want to set clear, trackable goals, right? So vague goals sound like, I want to eat better. I want to move more. I want to journal. Um, those are just too vague. There's no way to track those. And we've talked about previous to habit tracking. This is going to be a very key part in developing your accountability partner to yourself. So when you set a goal, make it specific and measurable, something you can track in a habit tracker. And it doesn't have to be a specific habit tracker. You can absolutely just take a piece of paper and write down what the habit is and write down Monday through Sunday and check off how many, what days you did it. Keep it super easy, super easy. So you don't get overwhelmed and you want to do it because it takes no time and no effort, right? So if your goal for the week is to move more, in place of just writing move more, you could write, I'm going to walk 25 minutes 5 days a week. Make it reasonable in your schedule though, right? So if 5 days, these are all examples. So please don't necessarily take them specifically, but it could be 25 minutes, 3 days a week, whatever. If you're not walking at all, walking 10 minutes to start is great too. When I started my movement, that's what I started with, 10 minutes, and I built up over time. So always make it super easy. So you're absolutely going to want to check that off for the day or the week, however you're going to track it. So example, walk 25 minutes 5 times a week. If you are someone who doesn't necessarily like a lot of vegetables, I happen to love vegetables, but if you aren't, eat 2 cups of vegetables every day, or just be very specific. Or if it's, I need more sleep, if you want to work on sleep. I used to say, I want to go to bed earlier. I'm going to start going to bed earlier. Well, that's very vague. That's very wide. Again, it's not measurable. I can't really track it. So I set a time and I started at 9. Now we've kind of inched to 8:30, which I am more comfortable with because it really helps me feel better. But start with a very specific time. So if you go to bed typically, let's say just 10 o'clock, and you're like, I think I need more sleep. I'm not getting enough rest and I'm kind of tired throughout my day. So start at, I'm going to go to bed at 9:45, just 15 minutes earlier. Just set it up earlier. Um, So specific trackable goals, right, is super helpful. The other thing is have a way to check in, which is what we kind of talked about, the habit tracker. So I love habit trackers. I think it's super helpful. The one thing I can share that I struggled with after I was kind of on a good course of losing regularly, my habit tracker got expansive because there was so much that I was doing willingly and I wanted to. But it did become a little daunting of a task to kind of check off everything. So if you are further along in your journey and you're kind of like, yeah, I go to bed at a good time. I feel really rested. I food prep. I make my meal plan for the day. Like if you're kind of in a groove and you're a little further along with the goals, then when you write down your habit tracker and you know these are things you already kind of have down and they're second nature to you, they're already a part of who you are at this point, then you might not have to track that. You want to track the thing that you are newly starting to work on or you've been struggling to do as much as you would like to. Those are kind of what you want to put on that habit tracker so it doesn't become so expansive. So that's kind of a lesson I learned that I'm working on right now. And I'm thinking about what do I want to focus on tracking every week. And so, or you can journal if you want to write it down. There's apps for this. There's a habit tracker app. There's all kinds of ways so you know yourself best. I am definitely pen to paper. It when I write things down for me, it sticks more. It resonates more. It's more of a reminder. And I do find when I write it down every day, this is my intention for the day. That's kind of what my journal is. My intention for today is to do this, this, and this. So that's helpful for me. Um, and then review the week as well. So, and when you're reviewing your week or your month, however you want to do it, I tend to track for a month and then I review the month. But honesty is going to be a big key, right? So, if you are tracking water, right? So I like to track my water because as much as I have a habit of it, I do still have moments where I struggle, weekends, sometimes when we're traveling, I still have time. So I absolutely know I want to track my water. I don't think that'll ever kind of change. So I know for me, if I hit 80 to 100 ounces of water daily, that's my sweet spot. That's when I feel the best. I feel less urges for snacking. I don't tend to get headaches. I just feel really good. So if I'm tracking 80 ounces of water and I hit 60, I'm not going to mark off that I got my water for the day. Or even if I got 70 and I was short just 10 ounces, I'm still not going to mark off that I got my water for the day. So we don't want to fudge our tracking because we can't learn from that. We want to remove judgment from this process. And it's very tricky to do because we are so hard on ourselves and we want to accomplish so much. And I relate to that. And but I'm telling you, it's such a when you're trying to move forward, compassion carries you. It moves you forward. Judgment, it just kind of sits you back in the chair and you're not moving forward. Um, So really incorporate compassion. And if you've gotten say you are tracking for the month and you look at it and you're kind of like, okay, I can really see, like for me, I really see my weekends are a struggle. What can I incorporate to my weekends that will help me? So this is an active thing for me right now. So for example, I want to work on the weekends drinking um 40 ounces of water before I drink coffee. So I really enjoy coffee on the weekends. And I notice that and I'm unique, a little strange. I drink my coffee lasts me hours. I don't just like suck it down. So coffee lasts me a long time. So if I got my coffee, we'll say at like 8. Kevin and I tend to go to this coffee shop that we like. I'm drinking my coffee still at 12 sometimes. So that means there's a few hours I have drank no water. And that's why I'm not hitting my goal. And during the week, I'm very good at because I have a commute to work and it's about 25 minutes. to 30 minutes, I tend to get anywhere from 20 to 40 ounces of water in before I even get to work. So that's something I want to work on incorporating for the weekend. So I have a very specific goal and a very specific way to achieve it and a trackable way. Okay. And then plan your day. Planning is so hard because I know a lot of people are like, I don't want to, it takes a lot of effort, or I want to be spontaneous. And I feel like that's something that you want to make a choice at that time when you're feeling that way. Like, do I want to choose to take the 5 to 10 minutes to plan my day to help me to have to make less decisions later, less impulsive decisions, or do I want to wing it and potentially not get to my goal this week because I didn't want to take that time? So that was a conversation I currently have had with myself. I was on a very good, consistent path of making my plan and looking at the end of my day of how I showed up for my plan that day. And that is kind of faltered. So that's something I'm looking at getting back to doing as well. So remember that planning a day, set a timer. Um, it really, I have time myself. And depending on the day, there is a range. Some days it's super fast. Some days I'm thinking, especially on the weekends, like, what are we doing today? I'll have a conversation with Kevin. Like, what are we doing? Do you think you're going to want to have this or that? But during the week, because I food prepped on Sunday, it's pretty fast. I'm just essentially going through the motions of writing down physically what I'm going to have. And if you want to move that day, write that down. If you want to journal later, write down the time that you want to journal. And then, of course, tracking that as well. And use visual reminders. This is another thing I do that is helpful is I will put a Post-it on my desk of a goal that I have for the day or a reminder of when I want to snack. Like I've written down on my Post-it note, like go to the bathroom. So when I'm sitting there and I have a thought, really want some chips or I want this, I'll see the note, go to the bathroom, and it just reminds me. So that's super helpful. Sticky notes are really awesome. And then my biggest thing that I think has helped me the most when I'm trying to get a habit going is talking to myself. So if I want to be my own accountability partner, I need to have a conversation with myself. I need to be comfortable with talking to myself, which I am. But if you're not and you're not used to it, because I always was the person kind of talked out loud to myself. But when I started learning about how my thoughts actually affect my weight and just how I feel about myself, I noticed the thoughts that kick up in my brain, just like I talked about in the beginning, like when I'm at a restaurant and I had no plan to get an appetizer and then something looks good or a friend recommends sharing an appetizer or whatever it is, you have an inner dialogue. So talk back to it, right? Remind yourself, am I going to feel good about this when I go home? Am I going to feel good about this when I wake up tomorrow? And if the answer is no, then really sit with that and say, I'm good, right? I'm good. And then the other thing that's helpful is kind of have plan Bs in a way. So say your goal, like a big goal of mine is to walk in the morning. So say I didn't walk in the morning, then I tell myself I'm going to take a walk at lunch. Like that's just non-negotiable. I'm going to take a walk at lunch, whether it's 10 minutes, whether it's 5 minutes. Once I'm out there, it usually lasts longer anyway, because I like being outside and I like walking, but set a very minimal backup plan. So if my goal was to get up and walk in the morning, and for whatever reason I did not do that, then I say to myself in my head, okay, we're going for a walk at lunch, 10 minutes. Or if you order takeout instead of the meal that you planned, which can happen. You get home, you're tired, and you're like, I don't really want salmon. I want Mexican. And you choose to order Mexican out. That is okay. But just write it down. That's something that I learned is on when you look at your day and you're like, hey, I planned salmon and I wasn't in the mood and I ordered takeout Mexican. Write it down and really ask yourself, why did I make that change? Why did I not want salmon? Was it because I had eaten salmon for 3 days in a row? No. Was it because I was tired, I didn't get enough sleep, and I kind of wanted something that felt a little bit more fun? Journal about that. Set a timer. So this is something I don't really journal for hours at a time. Some people really revel in journaling. I'm not necessarily that person, but something that was helpful for me is using my timer. So I will set a timer for 2 minutes and I will just write down, why did I choose to eat Mexican over my salmon dinner? And that will help you learn, okay, when I'm tired, I tend to make impulsive decisions. That's something I've learned about me in terms of food. So, okay, I did get to bed later. I usually go to bed at 10. I didn't get to bed till 11 last night. That kind of makes sense. So, something to be aware of for the future. So, these are all just learning opportunities, right? And then you can create, although a lot of people like to create reward systems, so that is an option. You know, say if you plan to do something, if you plan to do the walking for like 5 days a week and you hit that 5 day, 25-minute goal, then you could say, hey, I get to go out to a movie tonight. Absolutely have fun with it any way that gets you excited for it. These are all building that relationship with yourself too. So that could even be like your own little date that you've given yourself. You're learning to find what works for you and what's helpful for you. And then you can create a reward system like per month or week or whatever excites you. Like I said, everybody's so different. So it's all a learning situation, but these are kind of tips of things that I've done and that I'm working on. I'm working at it with you. So please, if you are struggling or have questions or ideas, absolutely reach out. Currently, still send the email to us or in Facebook. And just remember, you're never alone. We are all in this together. At the same time, just like I said earlier, the person who is always with you is you. So developing that relationship is key to showing up for yourself and asking yourself these questions and building that self trust. And your progress is, you are watching your progress and learning from it. And my challenge to everybody for the week is to pick one new way to hold yourself accountable. So, whether it's a tracker, a weekly check in, you do a voice memo to yourself just for 7 days, right? Whether it's writing a meal plan, um, whatever works for you, water, sleep, there's so much, but start with one thing. And I really am so grateful that everybody was here again this week. And I hope it was helpful. I hope it gave you ideas um, of things to try. And um, we will continue the conversation. And I hope everybody has a great week. And as always, remember, wake up willing to do something that feels good to you. Bye.